What's your favorite small-scale conspiracy theory? Probably the smallest conspiracy theory. When I was in elementary school, the entire 6th grade got together to read The Hobbit every other day for a couple of months. Halfway through the book, the teacher guiding the group saw a tater tot fly across the room. She stopped the reading and tried to find the person who threw it, but nobody would confess. Nobody else saw the airborne tot because their heads were buried in the book. We were yelled at for maybe 30 minutes. The teacher was livid. She calculated the trajectory and decided that, based on sitting location, half of the students could not have possibly thrown it. We were divided into left side and right side. Fortunately, I was a left-sider and got to return to my classroom. The right-siders had to stay with this teacher for further interrogation. For a couple of weeks, the left-siders were allowed to read The Hobbit while the right-siders sat in silence for an hour. The teacher even put in the effort to find a vacant room for her right-siders. Here's a conspiracy theory. The teacher just spotted the tater tot on the floor and made up the flying part. Probably some power-hungry old lady. Extreme right-siders believe that she planted the tater tot. I don't know where she is now, but damn, she really overreacted. Mass punishing 40-50 kids was not an effective teaching tool in this context. Disney invented prequel memes after they acquired Star Wars in order to change the public opinion on the prequels and make them more profitable. For those of us who are 30 plus, remember those call for action stories on your local news? Remember watching those stories about local companies ripping people off and the local news swooping in to let the public know they're getting ducked? What happened to those segments? I'll tell you what. Corporate control of your media. Mattress firms are a front. They are everywhere, but I've never seen any customers or employees. Many are pro-revenge stories or revenge fantasies. NASA created thunderstorms to cover up the sounds of space battles. I think I read once that Chapstick purposely designed their container to be cylinder so you would drop and it would roll away so you buy more chapstick. Clever. Not a theory but reality that dish detergent soap makers increased the sizes of the dispense bottle cap holes for users to consume more. When the companies changed formulas in the 1990s to the ultra concentrated, i.e., smaller bottles versions, they advertised as reducing the bottle hole size because not as much was required with the concentrated versions. Within a year I caught one brand changing its bottle cap dispense hole size back to a larger hole even with the ultra concentrated formula. I called the company's 1-800 number to complain but got the typical corporate advertising speak about it. Sadly this happened before the internet, so no way to escalating the issue beyond what I did. The governments will try to stop self-driving cars becoming bigger because it will lead to reduced speeding and parking tickets leading to lower income. Removable shower heads are specifically for women to use for pleasuring themselves. Might be true. The old owner of my place of work helps out as new owner trusts his judgment. Old owner is purposely making bad decisions to ruin business so he can buy it back for cheap. Every employee agrees with this theory too. Cranes. You never see them being assembled. They just seem to appear. It's some black magic that no one really seems to notice. That Tasmanian tigers, thylacines, are not actually extinct, but continue to roam in small pockets of Tasmania's remote wilderness. Martini glasses were designed to make you spill your drink so that you need to buy more alcohol and you spend more money. Fox and Sony are making cheap movies about Marvel characters just to give more value to the rights before selling them back. Our old school coolers infested with tobacco industry flax posting pictures of people smoking all the time, because tobacco industry's best recruitment tool is to try to convince people that smoking is cool, even though it is not. They misproduce at grocery stores to keep them fresh, look more attractive, but also to increase their weight, making you pay more. David stole my ducking sandwich. Michael Jordan did not retire temporarily. He was suspended for conduct detrimental to the league, NBA, for 2 years. But the league didn't want to be slammed with controversy for 1, suspending the GOAT, and 2, letting the GOAT slip into a gambling addiction resulting a payback killing of Jordan's dad. that some cops in California know the identity of the Zodiac Killer but covered it up. I don't really believe this, but the Zodiac Killer is a fascinating mystery to me. Here's one. Sir Harold Holt, a former Australian Prime Minister who went missing one day while swimming, didn't drown. He was abducted. By whom? I don't know. So the Americans. A squad of sentient squids. A group of U-boat dwelling Germans. IDK. But you'd think someone would have been keeping an eye on the Prime Minister of Australia if he was swimming around in the sea, even if it was only a lifeguard or something. Cryptids. It's interesting to hear people who claim to have experiences, and even myself who is very skeptical about it. I've experienced weird stuff in the woods that I can't explain. The reason Kim Jong-un was friends with Dennis Rodman was to make all the NK citizens think that's what all of the outside world was like. No hate on Dennis Rodman though. In the first Borderlands game there was a DLC called The Secret Armory of General Knox, and at the end of this DLC there is a vault that you can access that has a bunch of chests with really good gear, but the catch is that you only have 5 minutes to loot the items you want before the vault explodes or something and you're forced out. Except there was a glitch with this DLC that involved easily clipping through an elevator or something like that, and you had free reign to look and take as much time as you want and loot the entire vault if you'd like. I've always had this conspiracy that Gearbox intended for players to clip through the elevator and have unlimited time to loot the vault, since it was such an easy task to do in an effort to sell more copies of the DLC. I remember playing this all those years ago and my friends were telling me about it, freaking out that we could get all the best weapons and shields in the game and it was really easy to do. All you had to do was buy the DLC. I imagine this spread like wildfire to other high school students as well, and there were people like me who bought the DLC because of this glitch. It's just such an easy to access glitch that was never fixed. I've had this theory for years but I never told anyone about it because they'd probably think I was crazy. Diddy had Biggie killed. His memorial song moved over 8 million copies. CUI Bono? My friend offered to buy the concert tickets. Did not buy them. And then backed out. I suspect she offered because she knew there was a good chance she would change her mind about going at the last minute. Since no tickets were bought, she didn't have to deal with selling a leftover one. Taylor Swift is either lesbian or bi. She dates men only to stay relevant in spotlight. Remember how she and Tom Hiddleston broke up just after he went out of running for next Bond? The surge in sriracha and other spicy foods, such as Takis fudge, popularity has been funded by the hemorrhoid relief cream industry. The Vegas shooter picked that day to shoot everyone because a ton of media was already in town for O.J. Simpson's release. Shazam. I'm sorry, but that movie was real. Never mind the Mandela effect. Small time. There's a couple people in my old town where I eventually lost my house due to the acca making he have to choose between insurance and becoming and sewer town taxes and getting fined so I can pay my state property taxes and become homeless. These people are pretty sure that the town's board of selectmen are rigging the auction so that their families can buy up all them property. Literally half the town is owned by family of the selectmen, and several auctions had very strange results. A guy who bid 25k on a property lost to a woman who bid 1k. Town claimed his bid. All town auctions are done via snail mail, which seems to me like a bad way to do this kind of thing. Failed to arrive before the deadline. My house, which I lost in March of 2017, was bought and sold by June of that year, which is supposed to be illegal, as I am supposed to have my day in court to contest the foreclosure. Didn't want to. The building was a ducking money pit, but foreclosure is supposed to take months. The one about how Lee Michelle can't read but is learning how to read. Modern art is just a money laundering scheme. Starbucks is spelling your name wrong on purpose. They know that you'll post it on Instagram, and to them, that's just free advertising. Bread is made by the bread corporations in order to get us to buy bread. The walls of the bathrooms at my work are lined with something that blocks the Wi-Fi so employees don't waste company time. I think the roaches are assembling an invasion force. My favorite was brought up by some guys in college, that the government was keeping certain men virgins to prevent them accidentally passing on their undesirable genes. 6 hot dogs in a can. 4 buns in a packet. I think Big Hot Dog has some splaining to do. Roads highways take forever to finish construction so they can get more money from traffic stops, due to double the fines in work zones. When the weather forecast is sponsored by an anti-allergy tablet company and then the weather lady says that the pollen count will be high. Someone had to have said this already, but if no one has, here it goes. Women's jeans pants have ultra small or no pockets so that purse manufacturers can sell purses and bags. Edit. I need to get my sewing game up to par. Circuit City was a front for the mob that got really popular and turned into a legit business. That your smartphone buzzes randomly when there's no notification on purpose to get you to use your phone more. It interrupts your train of thought and causes you to think while I have my phone open, I wonder what's new on Instagram. That there's 2 different endings for the Pearl Harbor movie, with one or the other brother dying, and where I'm from, they don't show it as much on TV, probably not even every year, so they switch the endings each time to make the audience shocked. I feel like I've seen 2 different endings. No, I'm not going to look up who actually dies in it. Don't break my conspiracy. I love trying to put this when the weekly conspiracy thread comes up. Avril Lavigne is dead. She hanged herself after her first album while making her second. When she made it big, she didn't want to walk red carpets and do publicity stuff. She just wanted to sing and perform. So they got a doppelganger. While making Under My Skin and on the road, she found her grandfather that she was close to died. She broke down crying on stage. With the mounting pressure for another hit and the loss of her grandpa at a young age is a lot to handle. And she couldn't, so she hanged herself. Well, the doppelganger has picked up Avril's mannerisms and a vocal coach could teach her to try to sound like Avril. So they kept the cash cow going. My favorite part about this is now Avril or Melissa has had 2 marriages. If this conspiracy is true, did they know she was Melissa or did she lie through both marriages? Supposedly her handwriting is different and someone did the measurements of her face and nothing matched up to an old picture of Avril. Also, most of people's voices grow deeper as they get older. Avril can't sing as low as she did when she was younger and she talks much higher and more like a bimbo. I think there's a similar conspiracy for John Lennon which is more believable, but it's still my favorite. That Coke made New Coke knowing it would fail. The purpose being to give enough of a gap that people didn't notice the switch in flavor to high fructose corn syrup instead of actual sugar when old Coke was brought back. The Northwest Angle and Point Roberts are mostly populated by people in witness protection. Sugar's kidnapping was conducted by the IRA, but they were in the employ of his owners. Sugar was allegedly impotent and nearing the end of his career, so he was about to become way less valuable. His owners decided to have him kidnapped for insurance reasons, and that may also be why the investigation was so poorly handled. Source for this one: farmer guy I met on a course about politics. Walmart intentionally doesn't restock specific brands of cat litter, so people have to buy the more expensive brands. I believe the Appalachian Mountain Club's main function is to inhibit any growth in the popularity of mountains in an attempt to maintain a level of exclusivity from the general public. The trails in the White Mountains of New Hampshire are maintained by the independent AMC instead of the US Forest Service like in most other non-national park wilderness areas. If you have hiked in the White Mountains, I think you'd agree the trails are very tough. Most trails are incredibly rocky with no switchbacks, instead going straight up the mountainsides. Compare the Falling Water Trail in the Whites with the Hanging Lake Trail in Colorado, or the David Miller Trail in Sedona. Falling Water gains about 3,000 feet in almost 3 miles. Hanging Lake gains 1,000 in a mile. So it is a similar grade. Hanging Lake does end with some steep climbing, but 95% of the trail is like the picture. 80% of Falling Water's climb is as pictured. The David Miller does not climb as much, but does quickly cross up and over a sandstone ridge. You're telling me the Forest Service could find paths to avoid going straight up on those 2 trails, but that's the best route the AMC can maintain on a heavily used trail in the Whites? That the government declare species as extinct so poachers stop going after them. That famous people start looking like complete different people at some point because they've been eaten by and replaced with lizard people. Squirrels control us behind the scenes. Not my favorite, but the one that literally won't die is that the town I live in is an enclave for the KKK in the area. In reality, it's a small town that just happens to have some racists who live here. But if there was a branch of the KKK here, they'd have a lot of area to have meetings at. Since southeast of town is what is colloquially known as bumduck nowhere, a whole lot of back roads and unpopulated wooded areas. The kind of area where the only people you'll ever see out there are loggers and hunters. My nana had a theory that the MR Whippy in our town was selling drugs from his ice cream van. Solo, Infinity War and the latest season of Archer were just subliminal ads for season 5 of Arrested Development. Bethesda has a little control to the gaming industry, like they promised Obsidian a bonus when Envy got an 85 score but they got an 84. Car manufacturers in bed with NWO baddies by making seat warmers and cars just hot enough over long driving period to possibly kill sperm in men to sterilize the masses slowly. It's mega dumb, but I made it up talking with a real conspiracy nut and he bought it without batting an eye. Whenever new businesses want to move into my very impoverished, only has 2-3 job openings at any given time hometown, it's met with such massive pushback you'd think they were proposing the second Holocaust. Everyone says it's because of noise light pollution. I'm positive it's actually just old-fashioned racism. The largest nearby town is primarily black, and if these large companies moved in there would actually be too many jobs for my small hometown. So some would go to the black people in the nearby town, which would then spur black people to move here. I am pretty resolute in this theory because I have experienced so much racism in that town, and literally every black person who has tried to move there lasts a year or less. I've had people throw bricks through my windows and drive by screaming white power. No one will say we don't want businesses moving here because of black people to my face. But it's pretty obvious given the treatment of POC there and the fact that the noise light pollution is such a BS reason given they always want to practically build out in the country. My dog isn't climbing on top of me in the morning because she likes cuddling. She actually just knows where my bladder is and that if she steps on it I need to pee more badly and will get up, which leads to her getting fed and let outside sooner. The conspiracy that thinks Finland isn't a country and is instead an extension of the Baltic Sea that the Japanese fish without restrictions. Blades that come with a new razor are sharper and last longer than refill cartridges. Lip chap makes your lips chapped. Same with moisturizers making your skin more prone to dryness. That my English teacher was a spy. His name was M.R. Wilson. Apparently the same name as someone in an Edgar Allan Poe story about someone who poses as a teacher or something. He left halfway through my freshman year and never told us why. Kinda sad cause he was a really good teacher. That getting regular dental cleanings every year is absolutely not necessary but marketed as such so that dentists will have more regular client visits because the majority of people only ever need to see a dentist a few times over a lifetime, so how else would they keep busy? This is my own conspiracy theory and mostly based on the fact that I ducking can't stand having my teeth cleaned. The scraper is like nails of a chalkboard x 10 million. So I tell myself that it's not necessary to go in. I also realize that these cleanings are part of a regular checkup, but I would way rather just go for a checkup than do the cleaning as well. I'm pretty sure one of the managers at my company was fired for sexually harassing the CEO's daughter. I genuinely think they didn't come out and say that on the agreement that it was almost 100% our major competition in the industry would hire him and he would hand over a portion of their accounts once he was in a position of power. I think they were blackmailing him. Lo and behold, after he leaves, he gets hired by our #1 competitor, and 6 months later we have quite a few of their large volume accounts under us. P.S. Duck you. Man, you were creepy as duck and wildly inappropriate with young women in the office. Planned obsolescence of light bulbs.